Good evening, good evening, good evening. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? This is the African, and welcome back to another session of the African Speaks. Tonight, we're going to be talking about mental illness. This is the pushback, time to recover. Mental illness. This is the pushback, time to recover. And so we ask those who are watching, if you happen to be watching us on Facebook, please, let me get this right. Hit the like button, put a comment, share it. This is how we move all across the globe, talking to black folk according to the things that are important to us. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that every time we go live, you're there. Again, this is the African Speaks. We are our topic of the night, mental illness, the pushback, time to recover. Everything that we talk about is always focused on the rise of the African. Our social media pan-African movement where we're bringing black people together in all walks of life, all areas, all locations. And we ask you, please do make sure that you hit the notification bell, like, comment, and share, because we're always producing different types of content on different days. This is must-see live stream. So make sure you are part of it. These are our multiple programming. And so please join us whenever you can, or invite a friend. Recently, we've been talking about the black power potential. The black power potential. And we dealt with potential as being the opportunity of being for energy to exist, because there's an object that is sitting in a space of discomfort. There's an object sitting in a space of discomfort, and there's a potential for energy. There's potential for movement. There's a potential for power. All right. And so we are dealing with that potential, which is the mass of black people, the gravity, the weight of responsibility we have to be a people, and the height in which we can grow. Potential energy equals M times G times H. This is what it is. And so we're bringing that to you tonight. But we did say that the key focus of this black power potential is pushing out mental illness. Mental illness to push back, the time to recover. Now, in this conversation, and I'm going to say this, I was speaking to my man, Sheikh Hanif. Now, y'all going to, hopefully we have this special tomorrow night. Now, tomorrow night's special is going to be Sheikh Hanif, and Sheikh Hanif is a psychologist. I went to school with the brother. And we, by happenstance, what my friend will call synchronicity, we come across each other's paths yet again. And it's a good thing to see that the brother grew to becoming a sheikh in the Muslim world. And upon becoming a sheikh, he is also a therapist, and he works with youth. He works with, anybody dealing with the issues of mental illness. Now, and listening to him and talking to him and interacting with him, I told him, I said, bro, he had an idea of coming up with something called after he saw the African Speaks and everything that we do here, with Worlds of Akibaland and all the various different shows, he told me a show that he was thinking about producing called uh, Mental Illness Monday. And so, giving me the dialogue and the information, I watched two of his TikToks. I sat down and said, "Yeah, I might have to help the brother produce his show." And so, in that space, I said, "Well, let's start today with the conversation, and then tomorrow we're going to be the introduction, and then sometime after that, you will see it pop up on my feed because I'm gonna make sure that when the brother goes live to discuss it, I'm gonna make sure he's on our radar, somewhere on our radar." But again, we are dealing with tonight the mental illness pushback. Now, we have dealt with the mental illness on this before. Previously, we've discussed it. And for me, it's I always ignore the elephant in the room to push in more power. Not necessarily ignore the elephant in the room. I feed a different wolf. That's how we'll put it. I will always feed towards power. And if I can give you power, you'll have the strength enough to defeat whatever's you're up against. I'm going to feed you how to access the greater you in that process of you defeating this. But what happened was, they're saying with the rise of COVID, with the development of COVID-19 and everything that it brought with it, that the numbers of mental illness has gone up in the black community. When you're dealing with you got the deaths, you got the sickness, right? You have it started out with the deep levels of injustice. Then you have the economic uncertainty, the poor employment opportunities, and so there was a whole lot. Then the school system sending your kids back out there, being uncomfortable with taking the jab before the research comes out. Now, I don't even want to speak about. I'm not going to speak against the vaccine or for the vaccine. I'm gonna say continue, y'all continue doing your homework because there's a lot of research that still didn't come out. That's me personally, right? But take a look at this, because they said COVID increased the numbers. And I say, on this show, we always said that dealing with the issue of mental illness, again, this is the pushback. We said black folk have always dealt with mental illness due to the fact of our black reality. What? COVID didn't cause our mental illness. We all suffer from levels of mental illness due to our black reality. And what happened during COVID brought your level of mental illness to your doorstep because you were put in an uncomfortable position where you couldn't see the potential of growth, the potential to expand, the potential to do almost anything because you were trapped, waiting on someone else to recover you. What does that sound like to you? Waiting on somebody else to give you the justification to live. Sounds like 400 years of oppression to me. So I'm always going to say the responses and how we got treated and everything that happened during COVID manifested behind this experience right here. This is the initial pre-existing condition. Our pre-existing condition where the virus attacks even more was not physical, was always psychological, was always mental, was always spiritual. When you have a people locked up, everybody has a stage of mental illness when we're dealing with 400 years of oppression. I know for me, dealing with my levels, because I have levels. We all have levels. I deal with my levels by making this fight for the liberation of black people, for the rise of the African. That's how I deal. That's my medicine. That's my pushback, right? So we're going to sit down and we're going to we're going to find some steps We're going to find ways to address some things because this has to be a pushback. And it's not the issue, not only the issue of COVID and the dynamics that COVID caused, because we have been suffering from mental illness for a long time in the not only in the Americas. 400 years of oppression has been affecting us, anybody who is blessed with the melanated gene around the globe. Ain't that something? And so when you got countries asking for, hey, instead of giving us something just stick in our arm without giving us the true what's in it, can you just give us the ingredients and let us make it ourselves? And this happened around the world. And then you have the institutions saying, the European institutions saying, no, we're not giving you anything. You just take what we give you and stick it in your arm. What? And in Africa, they was like, yo, especially South Africa, said, yo, you sound like apartheid. And we're not doing that. You give us the ingredients, we'll make it, test it, and validate it for ourselves. If you about humanity, if you're not about humanity, again, this is nothing but a product of 400 years of oppression. And it's a shame when that happens. But we're going to deal with in that space, we're going to deal with the fight. We're going to deal with your stand-up. We're going to deal with your pushback. For me, that's what this is about. Life at every step. So when COVID hit, I was already in my zone of pushback. Meaning that I'm going to always infuse myself with fighting against these 400 years of oppression. Mentally, physically, and emotionally. Mind, body, and spirit. I'm always going to push back against that. So whenever that comes, and the hard part for me was depression, was watching leaders, even in a conscious community, give in to their own level of mental illness. Having dancing for the jab. And it hadn't even been tested yet. Dancing for it. Why? Because they understood that what their fears. But we're going to push back against our fears. So when the spirit of fear comes, there's always an aftermath. It's always an aftermath. And I have a friend that I was talking to, and I was telling him, I'm like, dude, no, COVID is real. How to deal with it is the complex thing. And not how to deal with it just on a health level. How to deal with it on a mentally, emotionally, and an economic level. That's the issue. And so dealing with, again, this is the mental illness pushback. So we had to deal with, okay, well, we're going to make this, we're going to deal with or talk about the elephant in the room. We're all dealing with the aftermath of COVID, the aftermath of social distancing. We're dealing with that. So what happens? We have developed barriers within ourselves, internal barriers inside us that keep us from being our whole self. Those psychological things, those emotional things, those mental things, those physical things. Because they said, man, the effect of COVID, if you get it, it leaves a scar. And that scar happens to the respiratory system or whatever else it attacks. It causes barriers of fear, of motion and movement and living in life. And so we have to fight against, this is that pushback. Y'all get ready. Because dealing with those, and we talked about a lot in the Keeperland Inspirational Sunday. So if you made it to Keeperland Inspirational Sunday, this information is going to sound familiar to you. Now, of course, I tell you, I'm not the expert on mental illness. Don't sit with me and I'm your psychologist. I'm not going to say that. That's why we're going to get the Shaq on tomorrow. That's why we're going to get, we got 2 Shaqs coming tomorrow. Hopefully my man Jabril comes with my man Hanif, right? Oh, this is going to be a reunion the way y'all ain't never seen it before. And you're going to watch black men who always function from the space of that pushback. And we've been doing it since childhood. And so when you're talking about pushback, you're talking about internal barriers, things that you can't see. So if you're standing right there, and you see the barrier, and if that arrow wasn't going forward, you would stand still. That's the stop. And so, talking about dealing with something internally, we said, hey, I see you, my Fundi. Thank you. One love, one love. Jazz, I see you. One love. I can't see everybody on all the multiple Facebook pages, but if you on the African, the African page, and you setting us up in there, I see you. I might set something up here later where I can see everybody talking, interacting. Sometimes, I'm rushing. Why? Because I'm dealing with that same thing. These barriers, these mental and emotional barriers. I get my barriers hit when I come across individuals who, one, say they live their life for the liberation of our people, live their life for the rise of the African, and got an experience where they just said, you know what, I'm not thinking no more. What? I stopped thinking and looking at the situation to resolve it. I'm like, what? I'm not helping. And if there's somebody else producing, we not supporting. What? And then you have those friends. Those friends who say, yo, I rock with you. And then all of a sudden something happens and they're gone. Me, I deal with my barriers. My barriers develop when I'm realizing I might be feeling like I'm fighting a fight by myself. Ain't that something? Then I ask, that Texas killing the children? Woo! I was in a dark place because then I had the abandonment of some friends and the killing of the kids. I couldn't function. I was deeply in a dark place. And how do I get past that dark place? That's my pushback. That's my pushback, and that's what we're gonna talk about. For me, okay, we're gonna say that anytime you're feeling, we need to get the symptoms up, signs of mental illness. Now, we're gonna say that if you are, before we get started, if you or anybody out there has an issue where you're feeling like your level of mental illness has increased, don't wait, reach out. Don't wait, reach out. Right? And if there's nobody you have, hey, I'm public, I'm live, I'm fresh, I'll find somebody to help you. I have a lot of individuals laid out where I call people on the phone, hey, I have somebody struggling with ABCFG, who can I send them to? Hey, and I got friends that I call, literally. When anytime somebody call me with a problem, give me a minute, let me find somebody to help you. Reach out to the African, because the African knows Africans. So don't wait, reach out. That's instant. Now we're going to talk about the symptoms. Because if this happens and you see this, we want to make sure, don't wait, reach out. I've seen people in my community who are supposed to be the ones who reach out, the ones that you reach to, crash. So it was like, wait a minute. COVID didn't bring this out. COVID didn't cause it. 400 years of oppression caused it. COVID just brought it to your doorstep. Because we all have it, and it's always that situation, circumstance that brings it to our doorstep. Nobody who is blessed with the melanated tint can escape mental illness without processes. We are born into it. We're not born of it. We're just born into it. And how we work against it is a lot. For me, when I feel like there's nobody to reach out, I go straight to my altar, I start praying, and it might take me some days, which is taking me some days. That's why you see my timing is off. On all my programs, my timing is off because I'm fighting back against my pushback. Right? Always fighting back against my pushback. I'm powerful, but I always need help. Now we're going to take a look at some of these warning signs. Because we cannot push back without the warning signs. Feeling very sad, withdrawn for more than 2 weeks. So you're going 2 weeks with your head dropped. Nobody to talk to. You know what I mean? You just sad, you just can't get out your funk. When that happens, don't wait. Reach out. Other condition, trying to harm. I'm trying to read this because it's far from me. Trying to harm oneself or making plans to do so. And I'm going to add to this. Not if you're just trying to harm, but if you sit down and you go into a dark place and you thinking of it. You ain't planning it. It's just a thought. You're suicidal. A thought. Don't wait. Reach out. Understanding this in terms of that thinking about it. And this show might go for a minute because I'm gonna break some things down. As a man thinketh, so is he. If you're thinking death, then you are death. If you're thinking life, then you are life. You got to be careful of your thoughts because your thoughts will pull darkness toward you. The more you think about it, the more you meditate on it, the more you go after it, it's coming closer to you. So don't wait. Tell somebody, yo, I've been thinking kind of dark. And I actually put that on the table with somebody, and that person was like, complete stop. Didn't know what to say. Why? Because I'm like, they say you the images of strength. Yeah, I give that, but when do I get to be human? I'm gonna be superhuman. That's gotcha. I'm gonna fight my way through because I don't know how to do it. But I never verbalized why, because people are not used to me verbalizing that. And so I learned how to work my way through. And if this is where it gets me, the African speaks, then I'm gonna continue doing it until I can find somebody who can help me carry my basket. Wow. But you don't wait. If it's severe out of control, right? Behavior is like self-destruction. If you got out of control behaviors where you being self-destructive, and we have relationships where we self-sabotage, that's mental illness. That's a level of depression. That's a problem, right? So if it's coming that severe, you know what you do? Don't wait. Reach out. Let me see if I can see this. With overwhelming fear, for no reason. Wow. Overwhelming fear. Sometimes with racing heart, anxiety, physical discomfort, difficulty breathing. And then so all of a sudden, because now you got sickness and death around you. The minute your body change, all of a sudden everybody's in a meat fear like, oh, is that COVID? Oh, is that COVID? Oh, is that COVID? Now you're in a straight anxiety. And it escalated your fear. And you began to live from your fear. I don't know how many people that I'm sitting there looking like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be feeding power into the community, but you live it. I'm watching you make decisions from a state of fear. You don't even understand what your mental illness is doing. That's when I get depressed. And I have to sever because I'm like, okay, I can't feed this from this person, can't feed from this person. I got to go straight to the creator. We're going to get to all that. Right? We're dealing with the symptoms. So the any type of physical discomfort, sleeping too much, walking tired, overwhelmed, your heart racing. I've developed some sense of anxiety sometimes, right? My thing is, I'm always like, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Be careful. Don't wait. Reach out. We're pushing back against mental illness today. Try to get that ready. We are pushing back. DaAfrican Speaks. This is the mental illness pushback time to recover. We're going over the symptoms, signs, significant weight gain or weight loss. You're not eating. Now, it's not like, if you're eating healthy, that's one thing. So if you're eating healthy, that's one thing. But if you're not eating or you're eating too much, that's a level of escapism. You're trying to hide something. So your weight blows up or your weight goes too far down. That's a sign of mental illness because your body is your temple. This is where your spirit and God resides within. We talk about this through a Keebler Inspirational Sunday. And so sharing these things of who you are in the Creator and God and the availability of your ancestors give you tools that if you come across this, because we don't know, some people mask it so well. But if that happens, don't wait. Reach out. And again, we're saying if you got nobody to reach out to, you know, call the brother, reach out to the brother. I'm always online, I'm always going to be available. So don't wait. Reach out. This is the mental illness pushback. Those you out here following your dreams, you following everything that you want to do, and all of a sudden COVID hit. That's okay. God said, sit still for a minute. Let me see you come out of COVID greater than you went in it. And I had somebody actually say that. We're going to come out of COVID greater than when we're in it. I don't see it. However, that don't mean I can't be it. So don't wait. Reach out. This is the pushback. Signs of believing that things aren't real. So believing in the fake. You are falsifying reality. And people are saying that's not true. That's not true. That didn't happen. That's not true. That didn't happen. And so you're believing in, or you're creating misery. Creating misery. It's a misery loves company. That's the spirit. Again, it's happening mentally, and so you're pulling it towards you. So anytime you're realizing that, you know what, yeah, that wasn't true, and then you find out that it wasn't true, and then you get mad, and you got assumptions on some things, and you need to validate. And then you have individuals, you're asking individuals, please validate this truth or false for me. And then they don't. Get away from them. Get away from them, because they don't mean you no good. But if you sit down, and we know that we're in times where mental illness is high, validate truth, validate love, not according to what they want, but according to what they need. Two different things, right? So don't wait, reach out. Excessive use of alcohol or drugs, and we're gonna add to that. It's excessive anything. Excessive sleeping, right? Excessive drinking, excessive partying, excessive, 100%, not doing excessive eating. It's excessive anything. But drugs and alcohol is worth. Why? Because you're trying to fade out. You're trying to fade out from reality. Excuse me. When that happens, don't wait. Reach out. Now I'm building on the concept of mental illness Mondays. We're gonna work this out. We're gonna have therapeutic practices coming your way on a regular basis. I'm looking forward to helping produce this show. Looking forward to having you introduce yourselves to him, or introduce him to y'all. Him and well, not just him and Jabril. And so whatever they're doing, we're gonna make sure that our community learns about it. And if anybody else wants to like, comment, and share, making sure that this gets out, so everybody is aware. If there's anybody in my community who is finally looking to have your voice be heard, I'm always putting y'all on Front Street. Don't wait, reach out. The African will produce it. Why? Because we need it. Because this is the pushback against mental illness. The other one, drastic changes in mood, behavior, personality, or sleeping habits. And I mentioned that earlier. Right? You go from high to low. You go to happy to sad. Your personality is different. You're not the same person. Sleeping habits. Either you don't sleep, or you sleep all the time. My mental illness, yeah, I won't sleep. And in my not sleeping, I won't stop working. Why? Because my mental illness is dealing with this 400 years of oppression. It's not COVID for me. For me, it's what can I do before I leave this earth to offset the mental illness of my people, so that we get to live life to the fullest. And individuals are using life as a means of escapism. I want to go do. I'm like, yeah, but I can tell with you, going doing is actually a part of your escapism, because you ain't doing what you were called to do. You just gave everything up. I can't accept that. That's a form of mental illness. When your mood changes, personality, behaviors, everything is escapism. or bothered. And this is not just for grown folk. These are for your kids. Look at your kids' behavior. Hasn't there been a shift in the happy-go-lucky, Muhammad, was he a beautiful kid yesterday? And he not good today? Khalif was he's a good kid? Hanifa? What happened to little cute Hanifa? She changed. Let's find out what's happening with our children. When you sit down and we're dealing with the issue of trauma causing mental illness. But they said COVID increased those numbers. I'm telling you, COVID just exposed it to your doorstep. Average people who thought they weren't dealing with the issue of mental illness, now the world found something to trigger it, to keep us from pushing back. But today is the pushback. So if you see anybody with great mood swings, or you realize that your mood changed, you realize that your sleeping habits change, your behavior change, don't wait. Reach out. Extreme difficulty concentrating or staying still. Man, if this ain't me, if this ain't me, I know what my mental illness is. But we got to understand, even for me, I'm sitting there saying, I'm not giving up this fight. People say your health is being affected. And I will do what I can to stay, but I'm going to do what I can to fight. So I'm always, my mind is never slowing down. And then you can't stay, you ain't focused on it. But I can't say I'm focused on a lot. But if you have issues focusing, if you have issues putting two things together, concentrating, being still to focus on something, I can say, no, that's not completely, but I have a level of it, because we all have a level of it. Some people call it productive. Right. But some people, it's mental illness. It's a fine line to living a whole life and living a broken life. But understanding everybody blessed who was sun-kissed, who has been sun-kissed, we all have forms of mental illness, and we are diving deeper into our spiritual selves to counteract that mental illness. And then once that happens, you should be becoming more productive toward the thing that is keeping us as a people down, not just you. And the last but not least, intense worries of fears that get in the way of daily activities. Man, I'm trying to tell you, what I hear people when they express their fears, and sometimes I feel like I can't. If I tell them that's not valid, you're functioning from a fear. And these are powerful people, influential people, pushing their fears on other people. Sad situation. Do you understand that this is your mental illness? This is not valid. That's the thing about reality. This is your fear, your intense worries that get in the way of daily functions. Some people won't go to the store. Oh, I can't be next to you. Now, I'm straight up. I believe in social distancing, and I social distance for the sake of health and longevity and being able to apply myself. And then I became busy in the virtual world to continue to connect to people. And one of the things that when we say don't wait, reach out, in this space of COVID, social distancing, sitting at home, hoping not to get sick, finding a way to push back, time to recover, we have to remember that we have to be a community. We have to be a community. More than anything at this particular time, this is what we have to do. There's two parts to this community. Individuals from the community reach out to those who you haven't heard from and making sure that they're okay. And then listening. Or those who need help, reach out to those. And if somebody reaches out to you for some help, hey, just get quiet and listen. Sometimes that's all we need. And if there's any instructions you could do, go ahead and do it. But in this pushback, a part of the pushback is listening. Now, we're going to take a look at these. What are the internal barriers that you need to overcome to get your breakthrough? What is possible? And now, I don't know about you, but Akiba Land Inspirational Sunday been filling me in with a whole lot of information. We talked about ancestral downloads previously. And so in this space of COVID, I've been asking for a whole lot of ancestral downloads. Get me to a point where I can function to my best self in the middle of COVID, in the middle of dealing with my own mental illness. This is the pushback. And so let's take a look. Let me get this ready. Let's take a look at some of these, what they call the internal barriers. Internal barriers that we have to overcome. Internal barriers that lead to your mental illness. Woo. Things that you can overcome internally as your pushback. And this is why Akiba Land Inspirational Sunday is important. This is why DaAfrican Speaks is important. This is why Afro Stream is important. This is why African history is important and African spirituality is important. Because we're pushing back. We're ridding ourselves from the internal barriers that keep us from being who the Creator called us to be. What? Powerful stuff. Yes. First internal barrier. The self-concept. Your self-concept. Who do you see you as? When you look in the mirror, can you see who God created? And the fact that there is no mistake there. And I wish you were a part of, if watching Akiba Land Inspirational Sunday, when we talk about the DNA, we talk about the melanin state that you're in. Everything that God created within you according to your structure, why you are so beautiful, so powerful, so gifted, and called to manifest an experience of God here on earth. Your self-concept. Who do you see yourself in God? Not your circumstance don't make your condition. Your self-identity does. And so these are the things that if you're not going to reach out, or when you reach out, these are the things that you're going to look for. When you're looking for individuals to help you through your situation, make sure that they are giving you a stronger self-concept. That's why even in my church community said, if you cannot go to a therapist that does not believe in black excellence. Why? Because then all they're going to do is lead you back to being a good slave in the 400 years of oppression and more. No, we're getting past mental illness. This is the mental illness pushback. And so we always, why I said this is must-see live stream, because we're feeding you what you need to get past these internal barriers, self-concept. Next one is self-knowledge. We always talk about this. You want to get past your state of mental illness. When we get in this mental illness pushback, we need to get past that internal barrier, the barrier that you can't see, but it's in you. How you think spiritually, mentally, emotionally, how you treat yourself physically. You're going to have knowledge of self. Period. You got to know who God called you and how God called you and what you're supposed to produce. You have to have knowledge of self. What are you using the internet for? You can tell if you have mental illnesses. Every time you touch the internet, it's for entertainment purposes. That's mental illness, because you're escaping. You're not working on you. I'm fine. Yeah. But do you know you? You know who God called you to be, or do you know what the world made you? Told you, we are all in the levels of mental illness. COVID is just bringing it to your doorstep. But this is the pushback. You need knowledge of self. Anytime you need to understand what melanin does in your body, just hit Google. Anytime you want to see what is the multitude of variations of beings that live in you, Google it. You want to talk about how much data is in you, how your body unravels a code. You want to see God work in you, and it will tell you that your DNA structure is unleashing code that they don't know how this happens in you, but it's your DNA. They said there is something uncoding you on a nanosecond basis. I yank this hair out, it grows back. Why? Because something is untelling my body to do this. Something tells my body it's time for him to show his wisdom. Something is moving me forward without moving me forward. No. Knowledge of self and how God is you, how God is in you, God is around you, how you're being led, how your ancestors work in your life. Have knowledge of self. Understand the power you exist in. You want to push past these barriers of mental illness. This is that pushback before we start Mental Illness Mondays. This is that jump start pushback. Now you got the self-efficacy. Woo! When I'm trying to tell you, we dealt with this in the Keebler Inspirational Sunday. When you realize that you are the child of the creator, the child of the Most High, when you realize that you got spiritual blessings, spiritual ancestors, you got guardian angels, you got everything around you for your benefit, you realize that the problems that you're dealing with are solved internally first. So the ability to solve your issues don't happen outside you. Self-efficacy. You have the efficiency to acknowledge, to translate, to compute, and to implement solution. It's inside you. When you go through therapy, they don't give you the answer. They help you find your answers within. Again, if they're not getting this, if you're not getting this when you're speaking to somebody, problem. The same way you go for help, make sure that you have to interview for a job, make sure you interview whoever you decide to get to help you. I'm trying to get you World of Akibla, Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, the PAOCC, all of us, the African, the Rise of the African. This is helping you deal with your self-efficacy, helping us be our own solutions to our earthly problems. What? Yes, this is that inner barrier. This is the mental illness pushback. Ain't no way you should be coming out of COVID worse than you went in. Why? Because God gave you as much time now to deal with you and your family. I want to see black families coming out of COVID connected and empowered, feeling more powerful than they've ever felt before, ready to address the world as a unified group. This is that mental illness pushback because you had time to deal with your inner barriers. That self-concept of who you are as a family, as a couple, as an individual. Knowledge of self of who you are in the Creator, in God, in history. Self-efficacy. I can be my own answer. The next one, because we're dealing with this mental illness pushback. Negative beliefs. What? Get rid of them. We said that the word impossible is a new phrase of I'm possible. One love to Preach, and that's a brother from Savannah State. Preach has a ministry where he says I'm possible. And I was looking him up because I was going to try to get my Savannah folk on the show. So Savannah boys coming up tomorrow. Y'all gonna see where I come from. How we connected youngins, and now we seasoned brothers, and we all still doing the same thing. It's a wonderful experience. I can't wait to bring it to you. But you got to defeat your negative beliefs. You got to stop. You got to erase the what they say, I'm an African, not an African. Right? How much do you believe in you? How much do you believe that God can work through you and your attributes and your skills and your talents? No, the world got you believing that you ain't about much. 400 years of oppression. We all have that mental illness. We got to get past that. The minute we understand our black reality, get that. The minute we understand our black reality, the second we understand our black reality and how much we are indoctrinated to believe negative about who we are, to get those falsehoods about who we are as a people out of our heads, we can erode those internal barriers that keep us from being our most powerful selves. This is the mental illness pushback, because we're not dealing with nothing negative about who we are as a people. We're feeding each other power. I know what we were in our past. Let me show you who we could be in our present, so that we can imagine that Afrofuturism. Imagine who we are in the future. The next thing is planning and decision-making skills. There are certain things in our life that will trigger our traumas, trigger our fears, trigger our doubts. You know that you're being healed when your triggers come and you respond different. I remember when I went through my counseling, and I'll say straight up, pure crazy. I was self-sabotaging everything. And I remember, and I was asking my counselor, and we can't be afraid to ask for help. I asked, I went and sorted out. Huh, the African. And I called her when I became Reverend Aj. When I became Reverend Aj, I called Cardinal Olabaya, and I was like, yo, I want to thank you. She said, no. She said, I thank you. Excuse me? She said, because you used everything I said. And not only are you better than, you're better than what you was, and then now you're healing others. You made the right choices. And so and I remember asking her in my counseling session, I'm like, hey, how do I know when I'm okay to move forward the way I know I should, according to what my call is, to jump back in this? And she literally told me, she said, when your triggers are hit and you respond different. When things happen in your life that has happened before that will trigger up fear, pain, doubt, insecurity, or whatever it is, and you respond different, she said, that's when you'll know. And so anytime, I have a friend that I always talk to, and she's always talking about gaslighting. No one can gaslight you if you're healed. No one can gaslight you if you are focused on healing and you're unscarred. You can't be gaslit. Doesn't happen. Why? Because whatever insecurity they think you have, it no longer exists in you. And so how you approach that conversation and a statement is completely different. So you got to get past those internal don't look outside yourself when you need help. I have somebody that I'm talking to, and straight up, he's clear. I need you to mentor me. Like, sure. And everything that he talks about is an external problem of why he can't be his best self. I'm like, dude, it's still, you're not looking inside. And so it's my job to get him to see his self-conception, improve that, gain him knowledge of self, let him know that the answers are coming from within, not outside. Dismiss all the negative beliefs about who he is, and then get him to make better decisions. And that's when that can happen, life will flow. We're breaking these internal barriers because this is the mental illness pushback. Now, we have seen, again, the rise, and we have a lot of people talk about the fact that it's on a kid level. Our children now are experiencing more mental illness than before. And I'm shaking my head, no. By the age of 5, I did a test to some of our children back, when it came to the dolls, white doll, black doll. 5-year-old and younger was still choosing the white doll. Did a test. And I just said, mental illness. Self-conception is off. Some of other kids who was like, oh no, oh, they were like, why would you choose the white doll? They were like a stomp. No, oh, and you would watch the reaction of those who understood the questions and what was going on and self-awareness versus the ones who didn't. Our kids come out mental, they come in a world that will promote our mental illness. And that's what we have to always be vigilant on when we're dealing with our own children. We got to feed them. So, when you got adults who's supposed to be helping kids and you listening to them in the group crying about it, you know that, okay, somewhere along the line we lost our focus on making sure the self-concepts are there. We have to help each other fight the same way. This is the mental illness pushback. The same way we are arguing and fighting white folks, Europeans, messed up government, for social injustice is the same fight we got to put up for our mental stability. Period. The fight is the same marching, the same arguments, the same holding up all of it. Same boycotting, all of it. The same protesting, the same energy, the same fury. You gotta not fight them, you gotta fight within. We need to be fighting for each other's from internally. If we don't, we're not gonna make it. I don't want to see one person healed, two people healed. I want to see a nation healed. This is that mental illness pushback. And in that process, when we sit down and we clearly, and this is the potential we have, and this is the black power potential here dealing with mental illness, the minute we make a decision to be a family. Now, in the Akiba Land Inspirational Sunday, we talk about we do everything based off of relationship. Our relationship with the Creator, our relationship with our ancestors, those who will come before and those who will come after. Our relationship with the land in which we live in. All right? Our relationship with each other and our relationship with ourselves. Everything is based on relationships. And if we can build these relationships and put this fight up, you want to sit down and you want to march for somebody murdering physically. That's the physical oppression. But we want to put up the same fight for the psychological and the spiritual oppression. Because when this happens, when we reach out for each other, we listen to each other, we help guide each other the right way. When this happens, then there'll be no doubt in my mind. Wait. That we get an experience. Where's she at? Oh, right there. Of the rise of the African. When we put up a fight for what everything that is internal. I see you, Denise. One love. When we put up the same fight for everything that is internal, not just the external things of fighting for civil rights. I don't fight for civil rights. I will never fight for civil rights. Because fighting for civil rights says that it's only a legal issue and they can take it away the same way they reversed the hearing about a woman having the choice of her own body. Ain't that something? I want to fight for human rights. The minute we pick up the banner and put this same energy into it and not steal the money when it comes in, ain't that something? Well, World of Akiba Land working on some major moves, y'all. Y'all get ready. We can have the rise of the African. We can be a strong people. We can create a new world. We can build up new communities. We won't have the experience of I don't want to do business with you, but saying I gotta do business with you. I gotta uplift you. I gotta help you economically succeed. I gotta help you academically succeed. I gotta help you judiciously succeed. I gotta do it because it serves to my mental stability and it serves to your mental stability. The rise of the African. That is what we seek to gain. That is the black power potential of us coming together. Ain't that something? And if you can do that, yeah, there is nothing under the sun that God will not grant us. And with that, I say, don't wait, reach out. The African is here, and I will find someone who help you if I can't do it. I will find you help, and I'm always online. You want to go to, I'm not going to tell you my number, but go to the website. Go to the website. You'll see it, waatl.org. We will find you the support you need. Okay? With that, let the African in you rise. One love.